My name is Rachel. This is my very first episode for YouTube. I've been researching a lot of other artists that have been putting their artwork on social media. So I figured that I would give YouTube a try. I have used other platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and I used to sell on Etsy until I had some issues with being charged. Um, but I figured I'll go ahead and use this first YouTube episode and introduce myself, and so you can get to know me more as a person and my artwork. It took me many years of practice to get to where I am today. Artwork takes a lot of patience to get to where you want to be, and sometimes you you are not where you want to be. So practice makes improvement. I've been into artwork since I was a little kid, for as long as I can remember. My first favorite artist was Christian Reese Lassen. He did a lot of ocean uh, paintings, a lot of colorful paintings. He did a lot of sea creatures and ocean. Um, some of his stuff would have half of the painting, bottom painting would be the colors underneath the ocean and like dolphins or killer whales, and then the other half would have mountains with the sunset. Um, Very beautiful. Those were my mom's favorite puzzles to do for the longest time until Thomas Kincaid popped up. But another one that I used to love when I was a kid was Lisa Frank. I would always pick her folders and her notebooks. Those are my favorite for school. What started my obsession with sea creatures, those were the first things that I would draw as a kid. My grandmother was very picky about us kids eating at the table. We had to have special placemats. And my placemat as a kid had a bunch of different sea creatures with the names on them to tell what was what. Like, for instance, one would have like it would have a white shark, a killer whale, a dolphin, and it would all be labeled. And so I would take paper and I would trace the creatures, and it helped practice drawing. So that's when I learned that I really love to draw, and after I would be done tracing them, I would actually take the paper and actually try to draw it myself. When I got into high school, my artwork completely changed. I started listening to rock music. I started wearing black every day. My favorite store was Hot Topic. So I started doing a lot more fantasy and gothic drawings. My favorite artist was Victoria Frances and Luis Royo. Both very detailed artists. Um, Luis is more on the fantasy side, very erotic. A lot of his male characters always be some sort of beast, and the women would always be this gorgeous beauty. And Victoria Frances did a lot of masquerade stuff with the women in nice corset dresses and masquerade masks, or be a vampire or a witch of some kind. Very, very amazing. Love the work, even still till today. So I started drawing skulls and roses and monsters and tried to practice creating monster hands. Roses kind of became my signature. I was drawing them a lot. Even still now today, I draw them a lot. And even my graphic design logo has a rose in it. It just somehow turned into my signature. But I also had this drawing of a cross that I did, and My friends loved it so much that they actually asked me to draw it on their arms. It was a picture of a cross, like Gothic cathedral style. It had a scythe and a rose with a vine growing on it, and it was my logo for a while in high school, and a lot of my friends loved it. Draw a permanent marker on their arms. Kind of looked like a tattoo, but obviously you could tell it was fake. I would always doodle on all my notes. Um, I would try to draw like tree branches and stuff and practice all sorts of artwork. I would always get bored sitting in class with the lectures. I was actually diagnosed with ADD back when I was a kid and had to take Ritalin first for a few years, and they switched me to Adderall. I cut it off in my sophomore year of high school because I felt like I didn't need it. The school was handicapping me, and they were technically trying to help me, but it didn't really just seem like they were trying to help me. It just kind of seemed like they were trying to do things for me, or it made things more complicated than, you know, I want to do things my way and how I felt like it was better for me to learn, but they didn't seem to see that way. So I had a talk with my mom. She took me off the medicine and she told the school that I'm going to do things myself. They did not like it very much. What really made me decide that was the school had kids with disabilities, learning disabilities, to go off in another classroom, and a lady would read our tests. I found that was the most distracting thing that they ever could have done. Maybe when I was a kid it might have helped for me to understand the words better, but I could not process I'm thinking at the same time of them talking. So it did not turn out well. And the teacher, the entire class had to retake the test, and I asked if I could stay in the classroom where it was quiet, and she said since I didn't pass my test that I wasn't allowed to. So that is when I decided that I was going to do things my way and not their way. So I really do not believe in that whole ADD and medication bullshit. I really feel like people like that just are different, and a lot of them are more like artists and they just think very differently. Yes, I had to work harder and find my way of learning, but it was 10 times more beneficial than taking medication. When I was in high school, I started taking tech classes. There was a certain class that I really loved. Um, I don't know if they still have this class today, but anybody from my generation or older probably know what I'm talking about. But it would have different stations, like one would be AutoCAD, another would explain about welding, and another station would explain about being an electrician, and on and on. It had different stations for different jobs. And that's when I learned that I liked AutoCAD. In my after that class for my higher courses, I did actually get further into AutoCAD, and it actually became a college course. Now, I would have passed it if I don't know if I missed some classes and I missed a project or what, but my grade dropped. Our teacher told us that we had to create a logo for our homework. We were getting more and more into the class with the projects. So we had to create some sort of signature logo to put on the bottom when we turned in our work. It was like, signing your name on your homework. But that cross I talked about earlier, I created it on the AutoCAD program, and I used that as my logo, my signature. My teacher was actually very quite impressed because I didn't copy a picture or anything. I just created it on AutoCAD program alone. So that was pretty cool. And when I went into college, I went to Ivy Tech, and I went for AutoCAD, but I basically just retook the same courses I went to high school with, and even the teacher noticed. And that's when I discovered that this wasn't creative enough for what I wanted to do, because most of the time they'd just be taking measurements and designing it on there, and that's not what I wanted to do. I actually wanted to create and be unique. I don't like following trends or following other people. So I kind of fell off my path, and I decided to go in for business management because I talked to my counselor and I told them my issues. So they sent me to somebody to take some sort of personality test, and it said business management. So I figured I'll give that a go. But I couldn't get past the terminology in business law. I took it like 3 times. I am not good with terminology at all. And that just put me in a big, great, deep depression. And I had to talk with my mom, and she told me, you originally wanted to go to the Art Institute back when you were in high school. Um, I would have, say go, but I couldn't afford it. So that's why you ended up at Ivy Tech. And Ivy Tech, I ended up having to retake the same courses because their their classes changed, the recommendations for their classes, the credits and stuff. And so I said, fuck Ivy Tech. This is wasting my time. I'm retaking courses because of this. So I ended up going to the Art Institute of Indianapolis, and that's when I started my graphic design career. I went to school for that, and I loved it. It was amazing being around other artists, learning to be a designer, I learned a lot of great artistic things in that school that even helped my own artwork for drawing. And it was extremely beneficial, and I'm very happy I went to that school. In one of my classes, it was called Design History, and I learned a lot of fun and interesting facts. And one of the art styles that I fell in love with was Art Nouveau. And I started drawing it a lot. I also designed a version for myself on Illustrator for a class project, and I completely fell in love with it. But most of my artwork is vintage Gothic. I really love the Victorian style stuff, from like lace and dresses and houses, and I always wanted a Victorian style house, but that'll probably never happen. But I also sometimes I incorporate Gothic, vintage, and Art Nouveau together. Very, very different. I like to take different styles and put into my own artwork. After high school, my sister introduced me to Japanese anime, which now I'm an anime geek, and I also do artwork in anime, and I tried doing some fan art because I know that's really big right now, but Funimation didn't exactly like my piece of one of their characters, so I had to take that off. Um, so now I just kind of create my own characters and use them for my artwork. But kind of getting to know me a little bit more, not just, my artwork. I am married with 2 kids. I have 2 boys. One is 9 and the other one is 4. They're completely the opposite characters. Um, my oldest, he kind of seems shy, but he's not actually shy. And my other one is just all out, just crazy. Just crazy, 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 crazy. Lots of energy. Doesn't stop. But they're both really great kids, but sometimes I just want to call them little demons sometimes. But, you know. My husband and I met at a hookah bar out in Broad Ripple in Indianapolis, Indiana. And if anybody knows Broad Ripple, it is a very big hippie place, and it is great for bar hopping because you literally walk from one side of the street to the other side of the street, and you just drink and jump from bar to bar to bar. So if you're in Indy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But we met at a hookah bar on St. Patty's night, which was very unexpected. but a very fun night. And I kicked his ass in Mortal Kombat. That's my husband laughing in the background. I'm gonna be in trouble later. um, but when I was a kid, I loved animals. I used to read books, and I would get as much knowledge as I could. I used to get books at the library about dinosaurs, tigers, just to learn about different things about the creatures. Even growing up, my grandparents did not like taking us to theme parks. They really loved taking us to places like museums and aquariums and anything educational. My grandparents felt it was better for us to go to museums and stuff than going to theme parks, which I can't blame them. I find it, better. So yeah, we had lots of fun. Learned a lot of valuable information you couldn't get at school. Sorry if this video is jumping around quite a bit. This took me a long time to videotape this piece. So when I put it on the editor, it was over an hour long. And so I speeded up quite a bit, but still, it was still too long. So there's going to be, if it all of a sudden seems like it's more done than it was, it's because I had to edit a lot out, so the video wasn't too long. Going back to when I was in college, for the longest time, I felt like I was in a block. If it weren't for my life drawing course, I don't think I would have gotten past that block. For the longest time, a lot of my stuff seemed cartoonish, but it also kind of seemed realistic because I was good at shading, but I just could not get the fundamentals right, like when it comes to realistic artwork, like getting loose and relaxing and, observing properly. But my life drawing course really changed that. My work started becoming more realistic, more relaxed when I started doing artwork, not as tense. It really helped out a lot. Now that I'm outside of college and when I want to learn to do something, I use YouTube a lot. And YouTube has a lot of skilled people sharing their information on how to do stuff, which is really awesome. And I learned a lot from other people here on YouTube, and that helped my skills as well. Even with video editing, some of the stuff that I learned in, for my own graphic design work that either I forgot how to do or, I didn't know how to do. A lot of these, Adobe programs are all different. You can always do different ways of doing the same thing. Also, like, I watch a lot of those do's and don'ts to help improve on how I draw. I also listen to other people and their stories and how they started their art careers and what they did to become successful to where they are now, or their goals and how they live, their everyday lives, what they did, tell their stories. So then, therefore, I could, get ideas on how to get out there and create my business, as an artist. After I graduated from the Art Institute, I had trouble finding a design job. I got a job at Herf Jones, which basically all I did was typesetting, and it was, at first I was super excited, but when I realized that I wasn't exactly designing, but I was just taking templates that was already designed, and I just changed them up a bit, or, I was edited things a little bit to make them more presentable, just setting up the layouts and setting to print. But what really irritated me was the fact that they started hiring people straight out of high school that didn't go to college to do the job that I was doing. And that's when I realized that I was wasting my skills as a designer, as an artist. So that's when I decided to quit, go back to Kroger, and I was actually a cake designer. Well, I wasn't the lead cake designer, but I did help designing. On top of it, I was a lead, like the supervisor's assistant, which that kind of gave me a good opportunity for my resume for the future. But it was fun being a cake decorator, but still wasn't a job as a designer. I ended up moving back with my parents for a while with my husband and kids because of financial situations, and I ended up getting a job as a factory worker, and I was so angry because I wasn't doing what I loved. I even tried researching on how to become a freelance designer. I I started doing my own artwork again, but one thing I had to learn that it is not easy trying to create your own business. It actually takes a very long time just to get your foot in the door, and it takes many, many years to get to where all these other people are. But it took me 2 years to find a designer job, which I finally have now. But I am still striving to become a, a professional artist. Okay, with this piece that I'm working on right now, um, since this is my very first episode, I didn't exactly plan out very well. So I started working on the frame, and then as I went, I just figure out what I was gonna do. This video took me probably about a couple of months to videotape, and then on top of it, 2 months to actually edit the video. And I was not completely prepared. I mean, I knew I should have been prepared, but I was so nervous and nerve-wracking that I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna do this, and I'm just gonna rip the band-aid and just do it as I go. I can always improve as I go on. I think I need to get past this block of nervousness first before I actually start planning properly for the episode. So I started off with the frame, and then when I wasn't videotaping, I was trying to plan out what I was going to do in the middle. I switched from a bat to something else, and then eventually I just finally decided to do an anime character. And when I draw, I always try to look up reference photos because a teacher taught me in art school never to draw from the head. I mean, I know some people are very good at it, but not everybody. So until you get used to it, it's always best to look at a picture. And that's what I did. So I look up latest designs and I incorporate it into my own design. I try looking up different anime character styles and to come up with my own. So for the circle around, I decided to put a bunch of little flowers all the way around, and I decided to put a lily in her hair. And when it came to the color, I do a lot of black and white. I do watercolors, which has a lot more color, but when I do pen and charcoal, normally I do gothic artwork, so I do a lot of black and white to kind of, it helps create the darkness in the image. And so I chose blue as my only color to emphasize certain areas, like her eyes and the lily. When I was videotaping, I did accidentally didn't videotape the end when I finished. So I found a image that I put on my Deviant account, and I used that at the end, so therefore you can see the finished product at the end. But like I said, I didn't completely prepare myself properly with this, and I had some issues with the memory in the camera because the amount of hours that I spent creating this piece and videotaping, it took me a long time. It's not easy trying to get artwork done when you work full time and you got a family to take care of. Plus, a lot of the artwork that I do takes lots of hours, and I wasn't completely prepared on the decision of what I was trying to do. I did a lot of stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. So in the future, I am going to work on that so I don't have to do that again and keep postponing putting a video on YouTube. Now, I will be open to hear any advice anybody is willing to give me. Like I said again, first episode. So if you want to leave a comment down below, I really want to make videos that you would like. So if you have any advice or whatever, just put a comment down below and I will take it and I'll see what I can do to make my videos better for you to enjoy. I'm not sure how often I'm going to put a video up. It just kind of depends on how my life goes. But I will make sure that I try to put one up frequently, whether if it's once a month or if it's once every couple of weeks. If I have to, I will try to create smaller pieces in order to put a video up. But right now I got a commission going on, so as soon as I'm done with that one, I'll start doing that, and then hopefully I can get another video up soon. But I also have an Instagram account and a Facebook account to keep everybody updated on what I'm doing. So I will put a link down at the bottom to give you that information. Please like and subscribe. And like I said, I could use some advice and some suggestions, so feel free to comment down below to help improve my videos. Thank you.